Hi everyone, this is Arcadius and welcome back to Naval Creed. Today we'll be reviewing the final mission of the Guadalcanal, part of the world missions. But before that, it was update day, and there's actually quite a bit to go over that's coming out, today and also in the future. So let's take a look at that. First things first, we now have the ability to play and research Project 21, Russian battleship. I have renamed her Lenin. And she is kind of like a Nelson setup with three triple 16-inch guns in the bow and some triple 6-inch and some smaller weapons in the back as well. She's the first one to be able to equip a fighter as well, not dive bombers. So my suggestion that they would be turned into some kind of aircraft. Dive bombers, just like Savitsky Soyuz, was incorrect. You just have the fighters. But yeah, the ship is actually pretty decent at her tier. She does have pretty weakish armor, but my first game in her, I was able to do over 220k. So yeah, pretty powerful. My opinion on her is still quite varied because I've only had the one game, but as far as I can see, it's about the same as any kind of Nelson design. You have really good frontal armament and armor if you're nose in, but if you turn broadside or anything like that, you're going to pay dearly. But we will review her much more detail later on once we actually start going through the second line for Soviet battleships. Speaking about battleships, there's been changes, so some American battleships, but we also have the ability to look at the Project 23 Alpha. Oh, actually, there's Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. So there is going to be some changes here, but we can see Vladivostok is how I'm going to be renaming her. Pretty much the exact same armament as a Svetsky Soyuz. You have triple 16s, and you have a couple twin 6s on the side. Surprisingly, the size difference between these two ships is quite apparent. So if you have Vladivostok here, and then you have Soyuz. So quite the size difference, but the armament should be pretty much the same. Like I said, we'll do more in-depth details about all of these ships once they are all released. But until then, we can look at them, and if you have them, you can play them to get an idea of your own. Alright, so going back to American battleships, there are two battleships that have had changes. Massachusetts and Missouri. Massachusetts is actually an 8.1 matchmaking now instead of an 8.3. And she has a second set of guns that she can equip. So these are the original ones that we first showed our video on. You can see all the stats here. No complaints about these guns except maybe their accuracy, but you kind of want to get in a little bit closer than normal with this ship anyways. But you also have a second set of 16-inch guns that give you a faster rate of fire, faster velocity armor-piercing shells, but you do lose a little bit of your armor-piercing damage. So they're kind of faster armor-piercing shells instead of just the normal super heavy shells, I would assume. I also don't have a real opinion on this either. I did play one game with the heavy shell, or the lighter shells, and yeah, I mean, I was still able to do a ton of damage, over 230k, 5 ships sunk. You're still able to do a ton of damage with these shells, and I mean, you do hit targets a lot quicker, but you don't get the plunging fire effect that you normally get with these slower armor-piercing shells. So in instances where I thought I would be getting citadels, I was not. I was just getting regular pens. But like I said, I've only had the one game since it came out. So we'll play more of those games, and then we'll do another video on Massachusetts to showcase those new guns. And that also applies to Missouri. Missouri also has the second set of weapons, but Iowa does not. Only Missouri and Massachusetts. So again, a similar thing. Faster rate of fire, faster shells, lower shell damage. This might be an exact same change, I don't know. But going back to the part of the plunging fire, when I was shooting an enemy Iowa in the game that I played with Missouri, I was not really getting citadels, and I fired at least 3 or 4 salvos at her. And normally when I fire salvos of 16-inch weaponry at Iowas, they just kind of explode on the spot. So we'll have to see if that's a consistent thing or if that was just a fluke in that one game. But I was still able to do over 320k damage with her. So she still can pack a punch. That's not an issue any of these ships have. That being said, speaking about American ships, there are more American cruisers coming out, and there's actually 4 of them. So let's see what information we have on those real quick. All right, so this was actually released on the Naval Creed Facebook page itself. So not the developer diaries, not the news, not the global community page, but the actual Naval Creed gaming page itself. And there's going to be 4 more ships. And we do have a picture of it. We'll look at that in a second. So we have USS Norfolk, which is a Baltimore class with 12-inch guns, all right? Now, it's not like the Alaska with the triples. It has 3 twin 12-inch guns. Oregon City is going to be like a Des Moines, except she has only 3 twin 3-inch AA guns on the side instead of 4 twin 3-inch AA, such as in Des Moines. You have USS Albany, which is an Oregon class or Oregon City class 1950. I'm not quite sure what is all about this one. And then we have a USS Vallejo, which is a Worcester class with 8-inch guns. Yeah, all right, so this is the picture. So the one at the bottom is going to be Norfolk. The one second from the bottom is going to be Oregon City. The second one from the top is Oregon City 1950. And the top one is Vallejo, the Worcester with 8-inch guns. So let me go through my opinion on all of these ships so far. So let's start with Norfolk with the twin 12-inch guns. I kind of like what they're doing. Once she has the 12-inch guns, she will have the largest cruiser guns for a tier 8 ship. Right now that record is held by Prince Heinrich and Scharnhorst at 11-inch or 283s. But once the 305s come out, then that'll change. You can argue that Alaska is a kind of tier 8 ship, even though she's matchmaking tier 8.5. She has the 12-inch guns and she has more of them. You'll definitely see Alaska as a matchmaking occasionally, and they're better in almost every way, but this Norfolk might still pack a decent punch. Who knows? I'm not too excited about it, though. It's going to be too few barrels to make a real difference, and their reload is going to be pretty trash. You might be good on the flanks if you can get to the side. You'll be a good cruiser killer, but if you go up against anything else, you're going to be absolutely trash. I expect your anti-aircraft defenses to stay the same, so still pretty decent. All right, so for the Oregon City, so she was on one of the first designs. I don't actually know if she was built or not. I think she was for the Des Moines class. And as you can see, she only has 3 twin 3-inch guns for a defense on the side, whereas Des Moines had 4. What I'm expecting from this one, it depends on what tier she's at. I don't know if she's going to get the autoloader 8-inch that the Des Moines has, or if she's just going to get the normal 8-inch triples that Baltimore had. And like I said, it depends on her tier. If she's at like a tier 8 or something like that, I would say just a normal Baltimore guns. But if she's a tier 9 or 9.6, then I would say maybe the autoloaders. That also brings into question what the difference is between Oregon City 1944 and Oregon City 1950. If you look at the 1950 ship, all, or at least some of the amidships anti-aircraft defenses in the forms of the triple 3-inch are actually missing. And I don't see anything worthy enough to actually make her a better ship. It just looks like the 1944 version, but slightly nerfed. But maybe this one gets the autoloaders and the 1944 version gets just the regular Baltimore guns. Like I said, I'm not quite sure. Hopefully they'll have more information to help show why these cruisers are going to be worth playing. And then lastly, the one at the top is Worcester with, it looks like twin 8-inch or maybe triple 8-inch. It's hard to tell from here if they are triple 8-inch guns and if they are the Des Moines auto-loading triple 8-inch guns, that will actually make the ship very, very powerful in terms of armament. However, I don't think this ship is going to work because her armor is not that of a heavy cruiser. Worcester is a light cruiser through and through. You have to stay at max range and just rain as many shells as possible down on the enemy. And that's why she has those really good dual-purpose auto-loading 6-inch guns. And that's what keeps her alive a lot of the time, because you can just spam targets and do a lot of damage with high explosive and fires, and if you get a broadside, armor piercing. However, with 8-inch guns, people are going to start playing her like a heavy cruiser, and if she doesn't have the armor for that, then she's going to be sunk relatively quickly. You're a large and long ship. You're not a hard target to hit. So I have mixed ideas on this. When I actually was first thinking about Vallejo, I thought she would have the twin 8-inch for whatever reason, because they kind of look like the guns you find on Italian cruisers. But if you have triples, then that might make her a little bit more better to play, because you have the firepower of a Des Moines and a quarter or a third, and the AA defense of a Worcester. That in itself is going to be a very, very strong ship, but your armor is going to leave you falling behind because you can't bow tank much, and if you give broadside, you're automatically destroyed. Des Moines, though I wouldn't say her armor is exactly tanky, it is a little bit more forgiving, I would say. Obviously, if you're going to give broadside, you're going to be citadeled and absolutely destroyed, but if you nose it in, you actually are able to mitigate a lot of damage. Worcester, not so much, and it does limit how many guns you can use. You only have 2 out of your 3 bow turrets that you can use if you're bowing, so that's why you don't normally do that. But if you have Des Moines guns, maybe she'll work out. I don't know. Like I said, we'll hopefully get more stats on these ships and see what they're going to be like. As of right now, I would like to try the Baltimore with 12-inch guns, though I don't think I'll be very impressed. Oregon City and Albany, I don't. It'll depend on if they have the autoloaders or if just normal Baltimore guns. And then the Vallejo, I'm interested to see how she will play, but I'm not too excited about her survivability. But that just came out not too long ago. As you can see here, you'll have Mark 8 for the 12-inch guns of Baltimore, and you have Mark 16 8-inch on the Worcester. So actually, we can check that out. All right, so for going over the Norfolk, let's take a look at Alaska first. These are the Mark 8 guns for 12-inch. Let's see, does Guam have anything different? No, so they're going to be the same kind of shell characteristics, I would assume, as Alaska and Guam. However, we will have to see. I really don't think 6 barrels will make that much of a difference, honestly. But, I mean, there's always a chance. All right, so let's see what kind of guns Balti has. Mark 15s. And then Des Moines has the Mark 16 autoloaders. All right, so it looks like Vallejo will have the triple autoloading 8-inch guns that Des Moines has. There was no. It didn't say what Oregon City and Albany will have, but as you can see here, Des Moines has 4 twin 3-inch weaponry, and if you go back to the picture in the earlier part of the video, you can see that Oregon City only has 3. Besides that, they have the same number of 5-inch weaponry, and was it 6 twin turrets, and then the triple 8-inch autoloaders. Hopefully, maybe, we'll see. But yeah, so those are the new cruisers coming out, and then as you can see, this is the hull that Vallejo will be played on. So you're completely eliminating the first and the last turret, and then switching these to triple 8-inch. But with only, was it 3 inches of armor? Oh, actually, the belt is 5. But still, 5 inches of armor for a heavy cruiser, that's not going to save you. If you've watched any of my videos at higher tiers, you know how easy it is to just completely annihilate these. If you see a Worcester, and you're in a battleship, you usually switch your target very, very fast to eliminate her. So mixed results, mixed ideas. we'll have to see what kind of stats these ships have and how they play in game. But for now, that's all we have. And finally, we can actually get to the ship that we'll be using today in today's video. And that is going to be Bayern. I'm going to use Bayern. She's not the strongest tier 5 or 6 ship, obviously. But she is pretty decent all around. She has pretty decent armor. Even if you do have the casemates here as a good shell trap. She doesn't have a lot of health, considering she's a 5.5. But I mean, I don't have any problem with her, really. She has 15-inch guns that are completely inaccurate. But if you are able to hit the target, they do a ton of damage. And your high explosive has the greatest armor penetration of any battleship at this tier. So for when you're going up against a ton of destroyers, even if you can't hit them very much, when you do hit them, you can always do damage. Secondaries, she has a ton of casemates as well as some dual-purpose 4-inch on deck. And fully spec for secondaries, you can get them out to 7 kilometers, which is actually pretty decent. Maneuverability, she can turn on a dime considering her size, and she's also about 25 knots in speed. Yep. So she's not the slowest. And then her AA is actually not terrible either. Outer DPS is 72 damage. That's pretty substantial, and she is one of the stronger long-range AA ships. She may not be able to take torpedoes very well, though. So let's hop right into the Guadalcanal Mission. This one does pit us against 2 carriers, I believe, if I remember correctly. So let's take a look. So Guadalcanal. I don't know if there's actually a video for this or not. Let's see. Nope, there's not. So we have 2 Hiryus, 2 Kongos, Kuma, and then a bunch of destroyers in the form of Akazukis and Fubukis, and some Kageros, maybe? Alright, so we actually already have armor or high explosive loaded. And I think we're going to stick with that. Because even if we can't hit the destroyers, we can at least maybe do some damage to the Kongos. What do we have on our side before they start getting sunk? We have a Lexington, Baltimore, and New Orleans, 3 Atlantis, a couple Fletchers, some Bensons, and a Mayhem. So it's 15 ships to 19. So this might be one of the first missions that you're actually outnumbered right off the bat. And with 2 carriers versus 1, that's definitely going to put the Japanese at an advantage. Alright, so we're just going to start going in now. I mean, I can try and mob some shells out that way, but I have no illusions of actually hitting anything. Though maybe, actually. Let's see. Oh, 2 hits, and we did a ton of damage. Alright, so that worked out relatively decent, actually. Let's see what else we can do. So if possible, so in this case I can actually see one of the carriers. You want to try and maybe take out the carriers first, if you have the ability to. If not, 2 more hits, also kind of fine. If not, then just stay with your team for right now. So even though I have quite decent long-range AA, I don't have enough for 2 carriers. And I just Citadel'd a Kuma with high explosive. So if you have a really strong AA ship, then you might be better off. But I do not have that. I do have health buffs and speed buffs applied though, so that is why I'm going at about 28 knots. Alright, so let's just start slapping some of these destroyers, because another way that I like to do is start working your way towards the carrier. So you just take out everything in front, and you just keep heading north or so. That destroyer is going to be sunk. And let's see if we can nail some of these with our 15s. Nope, all over the top. But our secondaries are starting to open up. I think I have a mix of, yeah, the casemates are shooting armor piercing, and the dual purpose 4-inch are shooting high explosive. So we have a little bit of everything. And yes, German secondaries do aim for the superstructure of targets. So for ships like Mutski or ships like that have really limited superstructure, most of the secondaries go off the top. But the destroyers in this mission all have really tall superstructures, and you can pretty decently hit them. most, or at least the higher tier German battleships have hydroacoustic skirts that you would be able to use, such as Bismarck and above. Bayern does not get that, but she does have a really good turning radius, turning circle radius. So if you do see torpedoes, there is a good chance you would be able to dodge them. But if you do take them, you're not going to be a very healthy battleship afterwards. Ooh, 2 ships at once. I will take that. Alright. And looks like our secondaries are going to start working over this one as well. Yeah, that should be able to finish it off. And then we'll just start working on these destroyers. Ooh, we dodged some torpedoes there. That was pretty good. Ooh, I don't think we can dodge those. Maybe. Let's see. Ooh. Nope, we got hit. Alright, that's fine. Alright, so our secondaries should be... Ooh, that one actually just got taken out. And this is what you pretty much do. You just start moving up, and you start slapping destroyers, and you just have to make your way up towards the carriers. There we go. And now we just have to keep going forwards. There's not much we can do, really. One thing about Bayern is that she is, like I said, she is fast for a battleship, but 25 knots is still not that fast. But now we're probably going to be singled out by the carrier, so let's see if we can light a fire on her first. No fire yet. Alright, so we just got to keep working on it. I could probably switch to armor piercing and citadel her, but I was looking for that fire and we got it. So let's see if we can get one on the bow. Though our accuracy is absolutely trash. Look at how bad that is. We're still able to somehow manage 3 hits though. Not quite sure how. Our team has taken quite a beating. We only have 1 destroyer left, 4 cruisers, me and my battleship, and the 1 carrier. But the Japanese still have 5 destroyers, 2 battleships, and 2 carriers. And now we are under attack. But we only have, or almost have, 1 of the carriers down, and it looks like my secondary range is actually about 7.2. And we citadeled her with an armor-piercing casemate and sank her. We're really taking a number on these these destroyers, but they only have it's like 9,600 health. So that would be why. So our secondaries are going to start working over the Shigire there. So we're going to work on the Yugire. Alright, so now it's 7v7. And we've got a ton of damage, and we've only taken 1 torpedo hit so far. And there we go. She's gone. Alright, and then everything else is to the east. So let's just start making our way there. Let's pop some high explosive at this Congo. Armor piercing would be better, but who knows, maybe we'll get a fire. Though if she's going to take a torpedo and flood, she's going to repair that. So let's see, got a fire. She gets hit by the torpedoes, does not repair the fire, so she did not get a flooding. And she got another fire from the other teammate here. And the other Congo is kind of nose into us. So we're going to just stick with high explosive right now. And it looks like we can start working on the other one. Because it looks like the first Congo is going to go down. Got to hit for a little bit of damage. Right, so there's a destroyer over there. I don't know if you could catch that really quick. So we'll have to remember where she is. I'm actually going to head towards the northeast here so I can have the broadside of everything and also kind of head up north towards that destroyer because she's aground, which means that she's just going to stay there for a while. And I'm going to switch over to armor piercing to see if I can work on the broadside of this Congo. And there's also another carrier out there, so I really need to try and take her out as well. She was heading down south with the rest of this group. So hopefully we'll be able to get eyes on her again. Though it looks like my teammates are all in the island, except the carrier, who will be focusing on this battleship, unfortunately. Ooh, there's the Hear You. Alright, cool. Switching targets. But we did get a Citadel in the Congo. So we're just going to pop a heal for right now. I don't need to use my repair until we actually start taking some kind of flooding damage. Let's do a salvo of armor piercing and then switch to high explosive because we need to light at least one fire on that carrier. And we're being dropped by torpedo bombers. We got 2 overpens. Not really what I wanted. But the Congo is going to go down. Let's see, do we get a flooding? Yes, we do. So we pop the repair then. That also puts out the fire. Alright, high explosive is loaded. Let's see if we can get a fire set on her. And we just now took the lead in number of ships. It's now 5v4. And no fire yet. There's not much I can do to dodge dive bombers. But we actually did dodge it, so that worked out well for us. Hopefully the enemy carrier will start... Well, actually, our friendly carrier will start attacking the enemy carrier as well. I do have to be mindful about torpedoes from the destroyers as well. We did get a fire on the carrier, so that does help us a lot. 15 health on that destroyer. I'm really tempted to actually shoot her, but I need this carrier sunk first. Another fire, that's good for us. More dive bombers are coming in. And so they set another fire. With the carrier having 2 fires on her, I'm going to send a salvo out towards this destroyer to see if we can nail her. Oh, there we go. 15 health, or 15 damage, but we also got a fire. We're going to pop another heal. And just keep heading this way. I don't know where the other destroyer is. I know there's one at the very top to the north. I'm thinking that the other destroyer is next or near to the carrier, but I don't know. And it looks like our friendly carrier is going to be able to finish off the Hear You. So we're going to head back north towards that other destroyer and try and take them out. Alright, cool. There goes the Hear You. And now we're just going to push in here for a minute. So I'm going to pause the video until we actually get close enough to actually see them. Alright, so here we have both the destroyers actually spotted. So let's see if we can send some shells towards that one and this one. Though the carrier is going to be focusing on the Akatsuki here. Our secondaries are going to start opening up on this destroyer, which will help us. Oh, 2 fires, awesome. And she's down, and the other one's in a smoke screen, so we just have to rush her down a bit. And we still have almost full health with another repair still. So we were able to weather this battle pretty easily, though our team did take quite a bit of damage, I would say. So let's see how far she is. She's about 5.5 kilometers, so as soon as she's spotted, our secondaries are going to start opening up. And I know she's facing in towards the island, so if I go this way, not only do I open up all my secondaries, but I am escaping her torpedo arcs as well. So if she does try and launch them at me, she's not in a position to. Secondaries are opening up, and 15 high explosive shells will finish her off, as they just absolutely tear her apart. So let's see how we ended up doing. I was actually kind of hesitant about bringing Byron because with 2 carriers, she would definitely be outclassed, but I don't think that was that bad. 194,000 damage, 9 ships were sunk, 77 shell hits, 11 aircraft shot down, 3 citadels, only one of those was with armor piercing, mind you. 21 fires, 1 module destroyed, and 176 secondary armory hits. So let's see here, 99,000 damage was in high explosive alone from our main 15-inch guns. 16,000 of that was from the armor-piercing 15-inch. Fires did 38.8 thousand damage, and secondary battery itself did 40,000 as well. 14,000 in high explosive, and 25,000 in armor-piercing. So, yeah, the secondaries on the ship are no joke. The AA, though it wasn't enough to protect us, we were able to light fires on the carriers to prevent them from launching their strike aircraft, so that's pretty much what saved us. Our secondaries and mains were able to take on the destroyers and the 1 cruiser. And then the battleships didn't really pose that much of a threat, but our armor piercing was able to take care of them when they showed broadside. So Byron's not necessarily a bad ship to use, but maybe not the best. Like I said, if you have anything that's higher tier, you're going to make it a lot easier on yourself. But with that, that will wrap up today's video. If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe. And join me tomorrow while we start going over the next part of world missions with Leyte Gulf, specifically the Sargasso Strait. So again, thank you and take care.